Hey, what's poppin', everybody? Paul Eston Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. We're streaming live here on a Monday, baby. We're going to recap, of course, the tough loss to the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. The Jets have lost 3 of their last 4, and why? It's playoff time, baby. The Jets have 4 games remaining in the 2022 season, and as we progress through each game, it is playoff game after playoff game. The Jets are already in the playoffs with what they have in front of them. There is no margin for error, and we'll explain the playoff picture for the New York Jets as well. Give you guys a couple of injury updates from an early Robert Saleh press conference. But before we get to all that jazz, a couple of key formalities we have to get to on the show. First off, we're streaming live in 3 places. First off, the Heavy on Jets Facebook page to over 20,000 New York Jet fans. Hope you guys are doing A-OK, and feel free to get involved on the program. We're streaming live on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25, and the Twitter sphere at BoyGreen25. Make sure you do the free part of today's examination. Get your participation trophy right off the bat today, and the best way to do it is with a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. We're getting close to 3,000 subscribers on YouTube, baby, and it's all thanks to each and every one of you. And by the way, just because I love bragging, I just got an email from YouTube talking about some of our success this season, as obviously we're here on December 12th, so happy holidays to everybody as well. And we got this nugget from YouTube about the 2022 snapshot, and here are just a couple of statistical measures. We had over 326,000 total views, 2.8 million watch time minutes, and this year over 2,236 subscribers. So basically all of our subscribers coming through this major jolt that's happened this season. So a major shout out to each and every one of you for making this show as wild of a success story as it's been. So we got a lot of action happening here today. We're going to have our Jets insider here, as we do every Monday here on the show. His name is Will Parkinson. And without further ado, let's bring him on the show. Let's bring him on the program. Goldilocks himself. Here he is, Will gosh darn Parkinson. What's up, Will?
What's up, man? How we doing?
Doing excellent, man. By the way, I know I just talked about some of my achievements that we're getting here on the YouTube channel and everywhere else. Again, Facebook and Twitter as well. Have we reached that milestone for you? I know we were.
We are next week. Based on it's like 10,000 away. So I'm thinking excellent. Next week. Congrats on all your hard work, man. So it's been pretty cool to see you grow the channels and. I remember you were just hit 1,000 over the summer and you were pumped, and now look, you're almost at 3,000 and moving on your way. So it's pretty awesome to see.
By the way, I guess we'll have to switch your handle, Goldilocks Will. I think it's picking up steam. It's
someone said I looked like blonde Mike White today on Jake Asman's show. Mike White's a handsome guy. I'll take it. I mean, it's better than getting called ugly. So I'll take it.
That's for sure. I had not seen it before until I just kind of hovered my hand over the camera and went, wait a second here. There may be something to that. Mike White, by the way, I know this kind of lanky, nerdy looking white guy in a lot of ways. You're kind of like, what kind of drip does he bring to the table? But I'm going to be honest, especially at today's presser, you'll see a video from today's presser when I play a random clip. So you see kind of the drip, the chain, the shirt, the attire wear. It looks
he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing.
Oh, for sure. He's again, I feel like he's getting a little bit more loose as he continues to, get these career starts under his belt and obviously, kind of gaining a lot of respect. I think he certainly did that coming off that Buffalo Bills game, both from Buffalo Bills players that I've been hearing from and also just in general from his Jets teammates, obviously, where that got a lot. I guess let's start there, Will. A scary scene in multiple occasions in that Bills game, but Mike White gets lit up like a Christmas tree, and the second one was brutal. I mean, an absolutely brutal hit. He folded like a lawn chair, and then his limp carcass just laid there as he was grimacing in pain and pounding the turf. You're like, oh my Lanta. Okay, he's done. The Jets curse kind of continues, and he kind of peels himself off the field, to use his term, and then goes to the locker room. We're like, oh boy, here we go. And then started the fourth quarter like Willis Reed. All of a sudden, Mike White's coming out of the tunnel. I'm like, whoa, he's got his helmet on. Okay. And it was weird because all of a sudden, I will tell you that I thought the Jets were going to win that game, because when he left and it was Joe Flacco, all the air was out of the balloon. I'm like, oh boy, the worst. I have like zero confidence that anything positive is going to happen. And when I say positive, I'm not saying like a touchdown. Like I'm like net positive. Like nothing just basic is going to happen. It's only going to be negative. And Joe Flacco immediately gets strip sacked and hands 3 points on a silver platter in a game where points are a premium to the Buffalo Bills. So that was struggling. So it was an interesting juxtaposition. On one side, I'm like, wow, Joe Flacco, I think we're going to get imploded here. This sucks. And then my question, I'm like, oh, we could win this game. So it is that dynamic that the Jets have in the quarterback room here, Will.
Yeah, so a couple of things. One, I think, I don't think it's hyperbole to say that the second Mike White hit's probably the hardest hit you're going to see in the NFL all year.
Yeah.
Full speed, 15-yard head start, big Mike linebacker, Matt Milano, and folded him in half, and a guy standing still, moving forward towards him. Like and I will make this very clear. That's not roughing the passer. That's football. No. And I'm really happy they didn't call that. Now, what I think a lot of Jets fans, people who cover the Jets, anyone watching that game yesterday would say, though, is, hey, man, we've seen a lot less called roughing the passer this year. And
true.
And it's, it not benefited the Jets in any way, shape, or form. We've seen Zach Wilson take a pretty big head-to-head hit against the Patriots that didn't get called. And even that I'm okay with. But we also saw that get called for roughing the passer yesterday. So I just think the consistency with which they call the rule, and it's not just a Jets thing, but I was a little frustrated with that because I felt like, man, like that's a great football play. But, yesterday, Justin Herbert gets sacked in a normal sack, not head-to-head, nothing, and it's roughing the passer. So I just think that's where it was a frustrating thing. I don't think any Jets fans were calling Milano dirt. Like I saw some Bills fans complaining about that. No, I personally have not seen any Jets fans doing that. I
have not either.
Pretty reasonable about the game. The refs in general were awful yesterday, and it cost the Jets points multiple times. But that's a whole nother discussion we can get to. From a White perspective, for him to come back in that game, I agree with you. It was, I believe, 20-9. Jets are driving right down the field. It felt like the Vikings game a little bit where Bills started to let it slip away. The Jets are going in for a touchdown. Michael Carter doesn't fumble there, or they even get points in general. Yeah. I think we're talking about it, even if they got to 20-12 there, because then they drove again.
Correct.
Looking back at it, I don't necessarily even know if I disagree. I don't think it was a bad call to kick the field goal on fourth down.
I don't either. I just want to make that clear that I was cool with the field goal.
I almost wish they would have kicked it, a minute and a half earlier. I know they got the third down. I think Garrett Wilson got it, if I'm not mistaken. It was either Moore or Wilson. I think it was Wilson. You almost wish that was incomplete. Maybe there's 2.5 minutes left, and you're able to kind of get a little bit more time to drive there. But man, look, I thought White was decent yesterday. I didn't think he was amazing. I'm not going to sit there and sugarcoat it. He had a couple sacks he took. You wish he would have gotten rid of the ball. 1 or 2 throws that got batted down, or he missed Wilson. It felt like that got rushed a little bit. I mean, I don't know how banged up he was, right? So it's hard to judge him too much. But the third down, the last drive, felt like Garrett Wilson was there. The corner route was open. He just threw it a little too early. But there was also some big balls throws he made. We saw him, the one to Elijah where he got crushed on. I don't know. I just feel like I'm not in love with Mike White, Rod. I don't know why everyone keeps saying that. I just think he's been competent. We've seen Garrett Wilson flourish. We've seen Elijah Moore flourish. Corey Davis have his biggest games of the year. Some of the tight ends. So, White wasn't perfect, but that's a top 5 defense on the road in bad conditions, and the Jets were still able to move the football. The offensive line was atrocious yesterday. The Bills were fantastic. Defensively, I thought outside of, Garrett Wilson plays Bam Knight, forced a lot of missed tackles, but Milano and Poyer being back was huge. The Bills clearly missed him, both those guys, week 8 or 9, whatever that game was. So thought White was fine yesterday. Again, was he special? No. Did he make a lot of really impressive throws that he continues to make these, really nice decisions, hanging in there versus pressure, getting the ball out quickly? 100%. Again, got to finish some of these drives, but again, 4th and 3rd and 2, and I know people keep harping on this play to Berrios. Until we know for sure that was the number one read, it's hard to sit there and crush anybody. It felt like watching it, he went 1, 2, 3, and Berrios was the last read, and he had to get the ball out. You can't take a sack there. So, yes, obviously, again, you like to see them score more points. The guy probably had, I mean, they're not going to tell you, obviously, but there's got to be some type of cracked ribs or contusion in those ribs, right? Like, there's no way. And you mentioned it. The three biggest plays of the game, I think me and you would both agree. The Michael Carter fumble, to me, is the biggest play in the game. Again, momentum, Jets driving. They could have gone in 20-17 potentially, between around 6 minutes to go, full timeouts, all the momentum. The Jets are winning that football game.
I agree.
So that's a big play. The Flacco one cost them 3 points. Not only did Joe Flacco fumble, by the way, the other, I think he was in 3 plays, if I'm not mistaken. One of the plays he was in, he missed a wide open Tyler Conklin overthrew.
Oh, yes, that's true.
And the other play, he missed Garrett Wilson wide open. So, that was a really rough sequence. He looked like he had no part of playing there. And then the CJ Mosley play, it's so unfortunate because you look back at that game for Mosley. One of the best games he's had in a Jets uniform. He was everywhere. Pass breakups, tackles for losses. The play he broke up to even give the Jets a chance to stay in the football game, he lit Mitch Morse and Josh Allen up. So just frustrating. I think, it's simply a situation where, I think Mosley saw them go under center, and we've seen that kind of, happening. Wow, people hate Mike White, man. It's crazy.
You're seeing a lot of
that. Let him hit the weight room, dude. You take a hit from Matt Milano, who's folding you in half like a chair. Have fun with that one from your keyboard. But overall, again, I think Mike White's earned the job for the rest of the year. If Zach Wilson's playing that game, are we sure the Jets are even in that game at all? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he was so great against Buffalo, the 150 yards with 4 starters missing. But the way the Jets played yesterday, the offensive line, that can't happen again. They ran a few nice trap plays against the Bills that opened up for nice runs. We saw it in the touchdown to Zonovan Knight. He had 1 or 2 other ones, but it felt like Knight had to break 1, 2, 3 tackles to even open up a lane. And even though the Jets were getting the ball out quick, sometimes the Jets got to protect better. I don't know if it's using the tight ends in a different way, using the backs in a different way, some of the scheme. I don't know what it is, but everything's got to be better. And they have 4 pretty soft defenses coming up. The Lions are 24th in DVOA. Jaguars are 29th, I believe. The Dolphins are 17th, and I think the Seahawks are 23rd or 25th. So 4 pretty soft defenses that no matter who's at quarterback, if it's not White can't go, which it seems like he will, the Jets offense should put up points. And, for the defense, I don't think they're scared of anybody. They held Josh Allen 147 yards.
Yeah, let's go through the injuries real quick, just so we make sure we deliver, of course, on the headline. Mike White looks like he's quote-unquote day-to-day, but the Jets expect him at this point. That's what Robert Saleh said at his press conference, an early press conference earlier today, that he expects Mike White. That's the assumption they're working under right now, is everything they've heard from the doctors. He's going to be good to go for the Lions game. Quentin Williams is day-to-day. Later in the press conference, Robert Saleh described him as, quote, 50-50. But they feel good about it, especially with everything that happened. And go back to the CJ Mosley thing for 1 second, because I know everyone's been lighting him up. I heard on Badlands this morning, because I always listen to them heading into the radio station. They were like, man, what the hell is he thinking? Now, again, it was terrible, and it was one of my top 3 as soon as we got on the live stream yesterday, my top 3 reasons why the Jets lost. But I have to say, the Jets have gotten, they had been gotten by that very thing against the Dolphins earlier in the season. So, of course, it's great tape today by him to say, oh, man, I've seen this. This bleep ain't happening. And diving over, and it was super cool, like Troy Polamalu or Waterboys I've heard a lot of people bring up. The only problem was he didn't snap the ball, he being Dawson Knox. So then it just looks like this big flub, and they end up scoring a touchdown on that. I will say they've had it before. Now, do the Bills actually snap the ball? Probably not. I don't think so, and I don't think Robert Saleh thought so either. But, if CJ Mosley doesn't do that and he hikes it, it looked like there was a gap there for them to just stumble forward for what was 4th and 1 at the time. So, again, we go one way or the other.
I don't know if you feel the same way. I just don't know that the risk reward for. I knew what Mosley was trying to do. I think everyone did. I think he did a great job of understanding what the Jets have got by, and he's such a smart player that he almost felt like it almost hurt him in that situation.
True. That's a good way
essentially,
to put it.
And I just don't know the risk because if the Bills get it there, I don't know if it's the same momentum. It felt like I don't think the Bills were ever going to snap it, but if they would have, what did they gain 1-2 yards? Whereas it was the penalty, and it was just this whole thing of the Jets look stupid, and then it just kind of it spiraled.
Clock stoppage,
that spiraled the rest of the drive. So Yeah, that was a bit frustrating, but you still got to be able to overcome it. I think Quinn Williams going out was obviously awful. Corey Davis losing Corey was terrible. George Fant went out for multiple drives, and Mike Remmers got cooked. So it was not great.
Yeah, it was not. Let's address the QB2 thing. I will play this clip from Saleh earlier today because, okay, Mike White's a starter. Big shock. I think all of us expected that to be the case as long as he was healthy, that he was going to get the start for the New York Jets this week. And as you even said, through the rest of the season. Saleh hasn't made that statement, but it's almost making the statement without making a statement, especially since after the Jets played the Detroit Lions and played the Jacksonville Jaguars on short notice. So that would be an inopportune time for a quarterback change. Here's Robert Saleh earlier today on the QB2 question moving forward, and we will react to this. Here we go. Here's Saleh.
Robert, obviously, Mike's injury put some spotlight on your number 2 quarterback. Is Zach ready for that, or do you plan to keep going status quo with Joe and Zach inactive?
Zach's ready for everything, but at the same time, I've still got to meet with the offensive staff and just kind of not reevaluate, but just make sure we finish the evaluation process and all that. So again, that's another one with regards to the backup quarterback that I'll have answers for you guys on Wednesday. But Zach's fine. He's been working hard for the last couple of.
And that's really the gist of it from Robert Saleh, again, on the QB2 situation. But you heard enough there, at least in my opinion. As soon as he said Zach Wilson is ready, then it's over. Kaput. Like, that was the only thing, is the reason in the first place, apparently, that Zach Wilson went from QB1 to what was eventually QB3 as a healthy scratch, was he wasn't ready. So for me, as soon as Saleh said that, and again, he volunteered that information, to me, if they do not, and again, we're going to have an answer on Wednesday, apparently, if the Jets say that on Monday, that again, earlier today, Robert Saleh says Zach Wilson's ready from the perspective of why they took him out in the first place, and then they still don't make him the backup on Wednesday, I think that speaks volumes. To me, my gut says it's going to be Zach Wilson as QB2 moving forward, and obviously that's pretty important in most cases because injuries always happen, but in this case where Mike White's coming off this very serious rib thing, is that the quarterback is only one hit away from coming in. So did you read the tea leaves in a similar way, Will, for QB2 moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Zach Wilson as QB2. I think, hopefully he's got enough of a mental reset, got rid of some of the yips, and those things. I don't know. It's one of those frustrating things where it sucks to have to talk this much about, the Jets are in a heat of a playoff race, and the entire comment section, my mentions, your mentions, everybody is having an aneurysm over a guy that hasn't been even an active player for weeks.
Yeah,
I like Zach. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think I've said this a million times. And yes, I think yesterday it would have been more beneficial to have Zach Wilson come in that game for 3 to 4 plays or however long it would have been than Joe Flacco. I think I've been very vocal about that. But you hope you don't have to use either guy, Flacco or Wilson, based on the way things are going. And, look, I think Zach's should not be inactive every week. I think that's fair. Joe Flacco looks like he has no idea. But no interest in playing football right now.
And no passion. That's a big thing for me.
I know that's always how he's been. It feels
a crappy demeanor. Yeah.
Yeah. It feels, I don't know, something about it just does not give off great energy. So yeah, look, I agree with you. I think I would be pretty shocked based on how yesterday went with Flacco's performance. It's pretty obvious Zach should at least be, at least being the backup quarterback for right now. And
correct, yeah.
Look, if the Jets lose the next 2 games, I'd much rather see Zach the last 2 games and see what he has if they're out of it. But they're not out of it. I feel really confident they're going to make the playoffs. So right now, it feels like the players and the coaches, whether people want to like it or not, think Mike White gives them the best chance to win. And they're going to keep riding with that until they don't have a chance to the playoffs anymore.
100%. And by the way, I agree with you that despite this loss to Buffalo, which stinks, the Jets have lost 3 out of 4. That stinks. And these past 2 against these 10-win ball clubs, or what ends up being 10-win ball clubs, the Jets lost by possession each. And I think I'm not venturing far off to say that one thing here or one thing there, the Jets win either of those games. Now, they did not win And Robert Sala said his big takeaway is that the Jets can, compete with any team in football, go toe-to-toe is the term he used. So that's the confidence I have. And quite frankly, I still feel good about the playoffs. Everything is in front. Mike White was not the problem in this one, and he wasn't problem in the Vikings game either. I mean, there's a lot of things to potentially point to from those standpoints. So, yeah, okay, why don't you rate it, Will? What is your confidence level in the Jets making the playoffs this season based on everything you know right now?
8 out of 10.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in the same ballpark, to be honest with you. I am in the same ballpark.
I think the only reason they, it would be injuries for me, honestly, is the thing that could derail them. If Quinn's really out for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if someone else gets hurt, if there's another injury in the offensive line, I think that's where you look at and say they can't really afford to lose many more folks. I don't know. I feel good about it. Look, I don't have any confidence Buffalo's not going to beat Miami. If you tell me after the last 2 weeks, Tua is going to go into Buffalo at a cold, snowy Saturday night prime time in Buffalo in December, yeah, no chance. And then the Jets control their own destiny. I don't. New England and Miami play each other. One of those teams is going to have to lose. I think Tennessee's beating the Chargers this week, and I don't know. I know everyone's really worried about Detroit.
Yeah, a lot. I got to tell you, Will, just off the top. So we did this post-game show yesterday, and it was almost the least amount of Jets outside of me just blabbering. The fans were all like, Paul, Detroit, watch out. Winners of 5 of the last 6. And I'm like, all right, let's look at some of the numbers, because I said I'm pretty sure I remember Detroit's defense being very bad. But let me confirm, because, a whole season's happened. They were bottom 3 in every major statistical category: total yards allowed, rushing yards allowed, passing yards allowed, and points per game. And then what I heard from a lot of the fans is, well, that's across a whole season. Look at like this span of time over the last couple of games. At that point, I feel like we're nitpicking. Like, this Detroit team is not like the Jets should be favored. I know they were favored, and the line has since flipped according to Zach Rosenblatt. So if you want disrespect in your face, how about Detroit Lions, a 6-17 coming into your house, and they're now a favorite the same way that they were, although they were at home against Minnesota. Like, Jets, you have everything that you need. The Lions are not this garbage team. I'm not trying to say that. They've been putting up crazy offensive stats, and Jared Goff has looked really good. But this is a game you should win. You're at home. And the Jaguars game, by the way, next week. It's one game at a time. But these are games that are must win, absolute must win if you're serious about going to the playoffs. And some of the fans are saying, like, the Lions are going to kick sand in the Jets' face and all these other things. I don't know, man. I love how the Jets match up against the Lions. I think the Jets' defense against the Lions' offense in cold weather conditions, love that from a dome team. And on the other side, this Lions' defense sucks. So let's roll it out and see what happens. I don't know if I can simplify it like that, and that's how the answer is. But that's how I feel about the game, Will.
Yeah, so a couple of things. The Lions outside are averaging 18 points a game, so this vaunted offense is not good outside. 35 degrees or colder in Jared Goff's career. 4 games. Scored 18, 6, 23, and 3 points. He's got 1 touchdown, 6 turnovers. He's got a yards per attempt under 6. He's got a EPA per play that's negative in every single game. His completion percentage above expected is negative 20% in almost negative 20% in 2 of the 4 games. So that the dome teams outside in December against an elite defense, and then I'm going to take the team that's made to be able to play outdoors. Maybe I'm crazy and I'm being biased. I'll take the Jets against Jared Goff outside in 30-degree weather all day long. Just the Lions are a different team on the road. The Patriots beat them by 30. They 30-pieced them outside. The Lions beat the Giants. That's what everyone's going to keep coming back to. I know they already know that's going to happen. It was 55 degrees out. Like we're not doing, it's, I don't know. The Jets match up well with the remaining schedule. I think someone just mentioned it there. They do. They got 4 bad defenses. They've got great edge rushers and corners to be able to attack teams like Miami, teams like Seattle that want to get, air the ball out, throw it. Kenneth Walker playing maybe changes the Seattle game a little bit. I don't know. I feel good about what the Jets could do against the Jaguars and the Lions. I think 2 games in 4 days. I don't know. To me, it felt like I don't see why they can't go 3-1. Frankly, I don't know. Why can't they be 4-0? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what,
right.
They're also just a better team than Detroit. If you go position by position, player by player, the Jets have been a better team. The NFC North is garbage. So I'm not getting I don't know. To me, doesn't feel the the discourse around the game is kind of in a good way for the Jets. Everyone's saying, okay, cool. The Lions are now favored. The Lions are going to come in here. They're the hot team. Everyone's going to pick them. They're the darling right now, the gambling markets, darling of the NFL. Oh, they're going to make the playoffs. Well, you don't think the Jets hear all that stuff? Like, I don't know. I feel like they're going to come out fired up. Again, the Jets are playing at home. They're not playing on the road, by the way. So I don't know. Just a weird amount of negativity, it feels like, for losing in a one-score game to a team that's the number 1 seed in the league in bad weather.
100%. And by the way, let's answer the people that were saying, hey, Paul, look at the Lions defense over the last bunch of weeks. They allowed 30 points to the Chicago Bears, 18 to the Giants, 28 to the Bills, 14 to the Jaguars, but that's the Jaguars. And then they gave up another 23 to the Vikings. I don't know. I see that. That doesn't sound like the stout defense that I think a lot of people were picking up. I see Christopher Cancel. What a great name. Paul, what does the team being a dome has to do with the outcome of winning a football game? Well, if this juggernaut of an offense and the Detroit Lions are playing all these games at home, which, by the way, if we grab a bunch of these, they're blow up against the Vikings in a dome. They're blow up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in a dome. The Bills game, which was supposed to be in Buffalo, ended up being in Detroit. So we got that one. And then, sure, you can bring up the 2 road games at Chicago, at the Giants. I don't remember weather being a major factor in either of those. So, no, my big thing is, again, dome team, a comfortable offense, and then the numbers you just brought up about Jared Goff outside. I think that has everything to do potentially with the outcome of the game. And they're playing the Jets defense, which is better than all these other defenses that they've played against. So to me, that makes me feel confident. But it is very odd, I will just say. It is very strange to have this kind of aura around the team. And again, the fact that it is, in fact, the Detroit Lions. Again, that one is incredibly weird from that perspective. And also, I just kind of want to throw this out here as well, that it only seemed like the Bills' offense started to make things happen and start moving and grooving as soon as Quinnen Williams left the game. He had 2 sacks in a quarter and a half, and he seemed like set to have a crazy game. Again, that's crazy in itself. 2 sacks a good day, especially from an interior defensive lineman, but it sounded like he was going to really go off, and as soon as he left and Mike White gets hurt and Joe Flacco comes in for a strip sack, it seemed like that's when the Bills were able to kind of come away, and it was a 1-score game. So I feel like all those are factors too in all of this, Will. With all
look, I agree. There's a lot of factors that are going to go into this game, whether the Jets could win, whether, how things go. But yeah, the pass rush, obviously, you're getting reps are going to Quinnen Williams, they're going to Solomon Thomas. There's certainly a drop off, no disrespect. Quinnen Williams is probably a top 10 defensive player in the league this year. It feels like probably the best defensive tackler, him and Chris Jones. Obviously other guys are, Lawrence and these other guys are playing well too. But yeah, Quinnen's fantastic. And it's just, it did suck to see him go down. I thought it was an Achilles just based on first thing. It's grabbed the back of his leg, didn't put any weight, non-contact, didn't put any weight. You're like, dude, you cannot be serious. You feel for the guy because he's going to get paid this offseason. And then, you see him walking off, no limp, and then, already 50-50 for this week, which is good to see. No idea what happens there. No idea if he plays or not, but, seems like he's good.
Oh, yeah, it certainly does, which, like I said, is incredibly encouraging from that perspective. Will, are you willing or ready to demote Michael Carter? Because he had 5 carries for 5 yards. That's 1 yard per clip for those. See, I told you, Mom, I would use my math from college one day. There you are. So are you ready to demote Michael Carter? I mean, completely ineffective. It seemed like they were just kind of going away from Zonovan just for the sake of mixing it up and doing some of their incessant rotations. But Michael Carter has been ineffective. He hasn't looked like the same player this year as he has in years past. And Zonovan just looks like the better option. Is it time to go to James Robinson? Is it time to more Ty Johnson? Dare God, do I say that? I mean, is it time to demote Michael Carter straight up, Will?
I just don't. It feels like I don't know if he's healthy. It's hard to tell. Like, looked like he didn't really look healthy yesterday in any of his 5 carries. There was one time he was running out, in motion, and like you could see like a little subtle limp, and I was like, man, if he's not healthy, you gotta get him out of there, and it's just hard. I don't know. It feels like some of the guys. I know someone mentioned maybe potentially being mental. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know. He looked good against Buffalo last time. It felt like that last drive, he had a lot of really nice, impressive runs. But yeah, no, he hasn't. The way this offensive line's been blocking, I don't know if that's affecting him or what it might be. But yeah, he hasn't looked great. I just think Zonovan Knight's the running back 1, and I think him and Ty Johnson, can either split reps or whatever you want to do with third downs and things of that nature. But Zonovan Knight's got to be the lead feature back, and he's just, he's been the best back since Breece Hall went down, and him, Breece Hall next year, Michael Carter potentially, Ty John, like it's a damn good backfield that could go up against anybody in the league. But I would agree with you. I think Zonovan Knight should be the more than the workhorse of this backfield, and then Carter and Johnson can split, the remaining reps.
I see Christopher Cancel coming in here. Another question: is it worth it for Mike White to risk his damaged ribs just to win a game? I get he wants to play, but sometimes you have to save a player from himself. Just to provide you this insight, Christopher, this is how it works. The Jets and every NFL team, for that matter, have a medical staff, and if the medical staff comes up to Sal and says he's good, and then he goes to Mike White and says he's good, what else is he supposed to do? Now, the only rare circumstance is the Tua thing that we talked about earlier, when he stumbled and dragged his limp body over to the sideline, and the medical staff said, yeah, sure, looks good to me. Slap on the ass, getting back out there. And at that point, Mike Daniels like, okay, maybe not. But outside of those rare circumstances, you believe in your medical staff. That's why you pay them all that money. So for me, I think pretty clearly, from a Mike White perspective, it's not about you could save a player from himself in certain situations. He was checked out initially on the first one. He just had the wind knocked out of him. On the second one, went back to the back in the bowels of Bill Stadium and got x-rays and everything else, and they said he was good. So from that perspective, as soon as he's good, that's, I think, all that it takes. But kind of using this question, kind of launch it forward here, Will. What did Mike White show in this game that maybe his teammates didn't know already, or what did he just kind of prove to them and in this spot moving forward?
Yeah, so as much, apparently everyone thinks Zach Wilson's better, so why not play Mike White? What if he gets,
Sure.
Right? So, 1, 2, I would say these are all must-win games. It's a playoff atmosphere.
Yes.
If it's a playoff game, you got to play your best players. I feel that way with Quinnen, as well. I saw some people asking, is it worth him playing? I think so. I mean, it's worth anybody, like in these situations. You got to get everybody on board. You got to win these games. So, I don't know. I think everyone knew Mike White was tough. I just think that showing that type of spirit and the type of, I'd have to get pulled off the mat type, all those type of cliche things. Guys respond to that, and, you hope that it kind of galvanizes a locker room. You hope it galvanizes a huddle. And, that's what I would say with that. I don't know if you learned, everyone that's on that locker room, I'm sure he knew this stuff, but, take that type of a beating to get hurt like that and still want to, be out there for your teammates and give it everything you have. I think, people respond to that.
All right, Will, I think we only have you for a few more minutes here as you're heading out. So with that being said, let's kind of full circle advance this to prediction. What kind of game are you expecting here against the Lions? It's hard because as I kind of study what they've done recently, and also they started the year horribly in terms of record, but their offense actually was among the best in all of football outside of a few scan opportunities. New England and Dallas is where it really started to slow down in the middle of the year. Then obviously it fired back up during this winning streak. But again, they're also outside, and also it's the Lions, and the Lions can lie. And Jared Goff has shown a propensity for coughing up multiple turnovers in bunches. That could be a factor as well. So kind of how do you kind of foresee this entire game plan out?
Yeah, I think this is I'm sure there'll be some decent amount of points in this game. Obviously, don't know the weather yet and things of that nature. I don't know. I see the Jets winning this game, and I don't know. I don't think they've put together a full game in 2 games now. I think they've played really good halves I feel like they played a pretty amazing first half defensively, and a good fourth quarter. The third quarter was tough against Buffalo this week. And, obviously the offense has gone, in and out of really nice plays. They've moved the football. I see the Jets win this in, a 24-13 type of game. I don't know. I mean, I know the Lions offense is good, but I just have a hard time seeing teams, scoring 20 plus on them. And to hold Josh Allen, they've held, only one guy's even threw for over 225 yards against the Jets all year. And that was the Jets' worst game of the season. So I don't know. This past defense is really good. They've been much better in the run game. It felt like, yesterday, I feel like they held the Bills down. Obviously Josh Allen had 1 or 2 nice runs, but that's what Josh Allen does. So yeah, I think the Jets win this game, and I'm not sure it's particularly. I think it'll be a close game for a majority, of it. But Jets kind of feasted, pretty nicely on, some of these some of these bad defense. They put up some big numbers, so they can do that. And and continue to get a stop, a turnover or two on defense, I think they win this game. I agree. The Jets do need a couple, maybe force a turnover here or there. And I know I mentioned this on Jake's show, and I'm going to mention this now. The punt coverage, the punting of Braden Mann, and the lack of a return game right now is killing them field position wise. Braxton Berrios, I'm not sure what went on. Maybe it was just a mental block early in that game. I feel like he couldn't get out of it. A couple of those punts put them in a terrible situation, backed up in their own end zone. And then Braden Mann, it's line drive after line drive. Not great kicks. It kills your punt coverage. It flips the field. And when you have a great defense that you're trying to hold teams down, giving them an extra 15 yards, 10 to 15 yards sucks. So that does need to improve. I don't know if maybe you blame it on the weather, but it's been an all year thing. It needs to change. And you'd like to see Braxton Berrios at some point pop one. He's getting paid a lot more money than he was last year.
That's for sure. And by the way, speaking of the weather, it is expected to be sunny and 40 degrees right now is the early projection. So it doesn't look like weather will be much of a factor in terms of something crazy. Again, as we know, weather can always change, of course, but that is the early line on that. So we'll keep an eye on it. Will, I want to thank you for taking the time, as always, for hopping on the show, my man. Feel free to lay out anything you may have on the docket this week.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'll Meigs and a few other people, if anyone follows TOJ and stuff, will be on later tonight, actually right after this. So that episode will be dropping later on today, and then have a few surprise guests as the week goes on, and then some good stuff planned for Jacksonville, obviously, and then Seattle and Miami. So should have a lot of fun stuff coming up on the pod, and appreciate it as always on Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah, you bet. So I will see you on the radio show on Friday, Will. Thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. There he is, Will Parkson.
Thanks so much, man.
And real quick, his handle, @WillPaw11. There he is joining us here on the show. I'll stay for a few more minutes, guys. Feel free. We could talk some New York Jets action here on the show. Again, a friendly reminder, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe down below. I love back and forth, and feel free to do so. Also on the YouTube, again, for all of you, you guys can contribute for free by liking the video and hitting subscribe. Anyone who's watching can do that. But also, if you'd like to dig into your pockets around the holiday season, you like to share and help support the show, the YouTube Super Chat feature is available for any of you guys currently watching on YouTube. I will say a couple of things here coming off of some of Will's comments. Braxton Berrios, of course, we need some of that return action. I think really where Braxton Berrios hurt, not necessarily on that weird return at the goal line. It was a couple of times letting the ball hit and then watching it go all the way to the 1 yard line, which hurt the Jets on a handful of occasions. That's the thing that, just even on the skip hop where it jumps up, just run under it. You still have the right to get it. Fair catch, boop, and grab it on the hop. I mean, you'd be better served in that department than the others. So, yeah, I'd love to see that. And, yeah, Braden Mann's been trash. Again, because, at first he was trash. They said, he was injured. They had some moments. You're like, ooh, like the Cleveland game week 2, and then more trash. So it's been wildly inconsistent. Probably not going to change it now at this point in the season unless he has some more egregious errors. But that'll be a thing for the offseason for sure. I'm seeing a lot of this, so let's get a prediction up here. We got Joe Campione, Jets 31-17, White 22 of 32, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sauce takes 1 to the house. A couple of things here. First off, my score's kind of somewhere in that ballpark. I see the Jets winning it by 2 scores, somewhere in the 9 points to 16-point range, somewhere in there. Again, I just think the defense is going to be able to flex their muscles. Now, a big one obviously is Quinnen Williams. If he's unable to go, the Jets still have a lot of other really good defenders. Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed can hold things down the outside. Jameson Williams, the former Alabama wide receiver, is back for Detroit on his first catch last week. He scored a touchdown. They've got some weapons, they got some pieces, but I really trust our secondary from that perspective. Not quite the safety, so if we can never put Stephon Diggs and Jordan Whitehead mano-a-mano again, that'd be great. Just a suggestion, just throwing that out there. Perhaps Jeff Ulbrich. Let's not do that. They've done a couple of stupid stuff like that. Not quite last season, Falcons putting John Franklin Myers on Kyle Pitts. It hasn't necessarily been that bad that I can remember, but Jordan Whitehead on Stephon Diggs is a clear mismatch. He can't do nothing about that, so that I don't like. In terms of the Sauce pick 6, I've been calling it for a couple of weeks, but it just hasn't come to fruition. We just need turnovers. There's been a couple where bounce off Dawson Knox's hand, ball pops up the air, catch it, man. Right place, right time. I feel like the Jets are due. They've run dry. They've had the one turnover that was the C.J. Mosley pick in the Bears game, but you need turnovers, because obviously you look at the Jets and the Bills game, 2 fumble rooskies. Joe Flacco, bleh, disgusting. And then, of course, you have Michael Carter, where that was a drive you would have scored points. And again, maybe you end up winning the game. Who knows? So turnovers are primo. You need to get turnovers. So whether it's a pick or what they have to do, there's been some ops. Jordan Whitehead dropped one against the Vikings, but you just got to find a way. GU here, we're due for a pick 6. Fumble return wouldn't hurt either. Something. I mean, there's been a couple of them. I'm trying to think if that was the Bills game or what game that was, where someone got lit up and the ball came loose for Sauce and he ran it down, and then they went, sorry, he was down. Like, that would be one for sure of making things happen that I'd like to see for sure. And obviously, going back to the QB2 thing just randomly, as I'm kind of reading through a lot of your comments, kind of working some other bits of conversations, we're here for another few minutes here on the show. Zach Wilson, at the very least, I understood why he wasn't QB2 for Buffalo, but moving forward, he's got to be QB2. I mean, Joe Flacco is just a net negative. He sucks, no mobility. Again, he's just a dinosaur back there. And then when you have the offensive line issues the Jets had, obviously, where the offensive line played horribly against Buffalo, Joe Flacco was getting destroyed back there, and he gave him no chance. Like, Zach Wilson at least can evade pressure. Like, that's one thing you can rely on for certain from old Zach Wilson. So that's something I hope they make that change. I know Salah's playing a little coy from that standpoint, but I'd like to see it. Robert S. on YouTube, have Bam return the kickoffs. Now, Robert S., Bam certainly has the experience doing that. That's one of the reasons he was so attractive coming out of NC State. But again, he's RB1 now. I think you got to kind of be smart, because obviously if you're getting a kickoff, you're immediately going back on offense. I don't think you want RB1 in those precarious positions. And also, you paid Braxton Berrios a bag of money. He's got to just figure it out. So I'm not saying that, like, because he's getting paid a lot of money, like, you have to go to him, because the Jets have made a lot of smart choices this year. Like, Zach Wilson was the number 2 overall pick. They didn't just stick with him because it was the number 2 overall pick. James Robinson, they traded for earlier this year. They didn't just stick with him because they traded for him. However, in this particular case, Braxton Berrios is a guy you're paying a lot of money. And while there's been some levels of inconsistency, you know what you can have. The Jacksonville return touchdown last year. He is a dynamic guy, and I'm for giving him less offense and more worrying about the return game. And he tried a couple of times bringing it out, but it just hasn't resulted in something. Is it the special teams blocking? Is it Braxton not seeing it? I don't know, but they need to fix it. I am against Bam in this particular circumstance with this particular construct. Next year, when Breece Hall's back and everything else, sure, let's put Bam on returns if we want to go in that direction. But right now, I think he's too important to the offensive flow, and you're paying Braxton a lot of money, so I would see that too. Lionel Cook, bring Zach in when we get to the red zone. Let Mike White get us down there. Is that a plan? No, it's not. I mean, the Jets had some red zone issues even when Zach Wilson was in. And with Zach Wilson, they ran a lot of gimmicky stuff and kind of pop passes, jet sweeps, all kinds of crazy crap. The gritty, remember, he hit in the Week 4 Pittsburgh game. And no, we've seen some level of quarterback rotations in the past. Kurt Warner, Matt Leinart, that from some of the Cardinals days comes to mind. But no, I don't think that's the answer. Some Chris Trevler package, you want to put him in there. Zach Wilson, that's kind of a weird one because he's like a legitimate quarterback. Like, Chris Trevler has not proven to be a starter or a capable backup in the NFL with limited experience. But as some sort of athletic package, I could potentially see that for sure. Kevin C. Don't understand JD's fascination with man. And Kevin, we talked about this earlier in the year. I'm pretty sure it's after week 1 that it's weird for a guy that's been willing to kind of, like, if he's made mistakes, to move on. Like, Ashton Davis is like just a role player now. He's not even a starter. Or Jabari Zuniga, they cut him. They were fine. But like Braden Mann, Joe Douglas like, well, I drafted this guy. We need to stick with Mann. Like, why? Again, we jokingly asked earlier, does he have some blackmail on the team? Like, what's happening here with Braden Mann? I don't know. We don't have those answers, but he's just been wildly inconsistent at a position that, quite frankly, is imminently replaceable. There are punters all over the place. One of my day jobs is sports talk radio here in Syracuse, so I've known a lot of great Syracuse punters that come out. Riley Dixon now with the LA Rams, and there's been Nolan Cooney, Sterling Hoffrichter. There's been a lot of really good Syracuse punters that have come across over the years, and that's just one example. But punters are everywhere. If the Jets want a punter, they can find a punter anywhere. And so it is odd that it'd be one thing like a quarterback. Like, I mean, I can't just give up on a quarterback. You could give up on a punter that you gave up a 6th-round pick for. Like, come on, man. Like, we're trying to win football games for Pete's sake. So that to me is weird. Let's keep going. Let's see. What do we got? Phenom. MC number 32 has been solid in his role this season. It was unfortunate he fumbled yesterday. MC 32 deserves his chance if he isn't injured. Bam Knight has been a pleasure. All hands on deck for sure. Bam has been a wonderful surprise. And Michael Carter, let me pull up the stats on old Michael Carter because I'm trying to remember because obviously Breece Hall was the guy. He goes down. And let me see the overall numbers for Michael Carter this year. He had 375 yards, 3.6 to clip is gross. That's not great. He's got 3 big-time plays, 31 yards per game. He had the 1 fumble, which was lost. He does have, 13 first downs on the year, which is nice. Let me look at the receiving game for Michael Carter. 31 catches on 42 targets, 200 yards, 7.2 per club. So he's doing very well in the receiving game, at least according to some of the advanced numbers coming in. So he hasn't been completely terrible, but again, I just think you're going to be in a better place. And I said it when Breece Hall got injured that, Michael Carter can't be the main guy. I know a lot of Jet fans advocated it for him to be the main guy, but he's better in a Robin role. And there's nothing wrong with being Robin. Robin has a movie. He's part of the Batman team. He's got like a wing in the Batcave. There's nothing wrong with being Robin, but I think he's more Robin from that standpoint. Frankie here. We went out 11-6. Yeah, I mean, that would be spectacular. I will say, to carry off the Will point, when you look at the final 4 games on the stretch, and we're all being, as completely straight as we can, no individual game makes you go, well, the Jets have no chance in that one. Like Lions, the Lions are now favored in that game, but like the Lions are 6-7. The Jaguars, I know they blew out the Tennessee Titans, but they're an extremely volatile team. Sometimes they blow people out, and then they get blown out. They beat the Chargers, and then they get annihilated by another team. The Lions blew out the Jaguars, for sample. Then you got 2 road games. At Seattle, they just lost to Sam Darnold and the Carolina Panthers. I mean, Seattle's a tough place to play, but they also lost to the Raiders at home this year. So, again, they're not some impossible feat. They're right in the Jets position at 7-6. And then the final game is Miami, and we just saw them last night against the LA Chargers. So the Dolphins had 2 touchdowns of note. 2. And I think actually that's really all they had. One was a fumble return, loose biscuit. Tyreek Hill grabs it, just goes to the house. He's the fastest player on the field. That's kind of gimmicky. The second one just kind of a deep bomb. Tua just goes, YOLO, whoop, and Tyreek Hill comes down with it. That's a touchdown. Like, there doesn't seem to be, at least in that 1 game sample size, where Tua looked awful against a Chargers defense that's not really talented. All their big stars are out. Like, no Bosa, no Derwin James. All those guys were out. Like, Khalil Mack was in there, I guess. But, like, they have all these randos kind of in there, and they kind of made it happen. So, long story short, you look at each of these games, the Jets could individually win any of the games. I think that's very possible. Again, I'm not overlooking anyone, and I want to make that perfectly clear. Could the Jets win out, go 11-6? Of course. You win 11 games, you're in. To me, and I've made this perfectly clear, if the Jets win 10 games, they're in. So you got to find 3 or 4. To me, again, you got to defend home court. And also, those are the first 2 in the series anyway. You got to beat the Lions at home. You got to beat the Jaguars at home. They're not easy games, and there are matchup things with both that you can either love or hate. You could go either way. Jared Goff is playing spectacular right now. He hasn't thrown a pick in like 4 straight games or something. He's got like 8 touchdowns again. The numbers are great. I saw the Twitter's thing on Jared Goff. Jamal Williams, their running back, has scored like 1 million touchdowns this year. I loved him coming out of BYU. I love that dude. He's a freak. And DeAndre Swift has been kind of hit and miss with the injuries. They got Jameson Williams. They got J-Mo. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a freak. They don't have TJ Hockenson anymore, which I think is big. And then their defense is not good. Like, they got a couple of Aiden Hutchinson had a really nice kind of overall game in the last game out, but, he's been kind of hit and miss. So, like, just the overall team, Jeff Okudah, I like the player. I like the prospect. But, again, there is stuff to be had there. And then the Jaguars game, which is a short week, so we'll have that Thursday night football game. You have short week to get ready for Jacksonville. And again, they're a team that sure blew out the Titans, but you look at some of the other things on the slate here and you start to say, like, okay, it's Jacksonville. Like, what are we talking about here? This Jaguars team, which, by the way, I love getting the primetime game. That's great. This Jaguars team is 5-8. Here are some of their losses here. Washington, Houston. They lost to Houston, people. They lost to Houston. That's Houston's only straight up win on the season. I mean, come on, people. They lost to the Colts. They lost to the Giants. They lost to the Broncos. And Trevor Lawrence looked awful in that game. I mean, sure, you lose to the Chiefs. There's some respectability in that. You lost to the Lions. That's fine. But, I mean, they lost to the freaking Texans, man. People are telling me this freaking, whatever. This Jaguars team, oh, boy, watch out for them. Like, okay, they blew up the Titans. The Titans are kind of a mid-team. Like, they're going to win the division because no one else is in that thing. But, you look at this Jaguars thing and I say, okay, what's the big whoop here, man? I don't know. I like the schedule. So, Frankie, I'm not going that aggressive. But each game that I had into, I'm like, I could see it. So, but I love the chutzpah. I love the confidence. We should be confident. Let's keep going here. Frankie, we need more to return kicks. I don't think they're going to use him in that way. I think he's too valuable from that standpoint. And again, maybe they'll explore something else once he's gone. Jets fan, we need to trade for a quarterback because just can't develop one. Never could. Yeah, I mean, there's a troubling history, of course, with developing quarterbacks. Trade for one is possible. Again, Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, could be a lot of options in the offseason. And we'll see. How much money does Mike White command? Is he just cool and says, hey, you know what, Jets? You were loyal to me and all this other crap, which isn't really true. I mean, they cut him like a million times. But the point is, like, hey, you gave me my chance. Like, let me sign a 3-year deal for $22 million, like the Matt Flynn deal. I think it's going to be more expensive than that. But if he does that, then great, sign him tomorrow. But we'll have to see. Let's go to He Key, I do believe, or He Kai, maybe. I apologize if I mispronounced that. Didn't this White have a super hot game last year and cooled down afterwards? Yeah, he had the big game against the Bengals, which was the Hall of Fame game. Then he was there for the first quarter of the Colts game, which was a short week. That was a Thursday Night Football, but he got injured. And then when he was back for the Bills game, he imploded with 4 picks. That is true. But so far, he hasn't had the implosions. The only 2 picks he has are both excusable, basically. The Corey Davis tip, and then the other one was the end of the fourth quarter on 4th down against the Vikings. So you could kind of excuse those out. Frankie, what $1 million question this is. Why did the Jets have such bad injury luck? I'm going to be honest. When Quinton went down, and I just like looked up to the gods and I said, why? Why? Like, why? Breece Hall, Elijah Tucker, Quinton Williams, Corey Davis, George Fant, Mekhi Becton, Dwayne Brown, Max Mitchell twice. I mean, you go through all the names, you're like, this is just ridiculous. But the good news is, again, knock on glass, which is what my desk is. Knock on glass here. Quinton Williams, non-contact did not look good, but they kind of slapped a level when he walked off under his own power. That's good news. And he had like an equivalent of like an icy hot on his calf. Roberts always said it's kind of the same kind of calf issue he dealt with in camp. So that to me, is encouraging. And then the Mike White rib thing is encouraging right now. So we will see. I'm seeing some Bills fans in here. Matthew Phibbs, Josh Allen owns you. I just want to say this to Bills fans in general as we kind of wrap up, because the next time that we speak, I'll be talking. And by the way, guys, everything is lining up for me to have a Jet starter on the show tomorrow. So if you're not already, like the video, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss it. We have a current New York Jets starter set to join us on the show tomorrow live. It's supposed to be in the early afternoon window, guys. So keep an eye out for a special guest. Now, the only reason I'm not revealing the guest name is last week. They were part of the players that had the flu, so they couldn't come on the show, and they rescheduled it for this week, which is spectacular. So thank you so much to their representation for making that happen. So guys, watch out for that video. So this is kind of the last time we're talking Bills, because again, tomorrow I'm going to be talking to the player. Wednesday I have the Lions preview set up. So this is the last time. But Matthew, if I may, I know you're trying to get in here and get a one-liner in and feel good about yourself. I will say this. The Jets beat the Bills earlier in the year. And your boy Steve Tasker, who maybe should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame one day, on his One Bills Live show, said the Jets, up to that point, were the only team that straight up beat the Bills, and the Bills could say nothing. They got outplayed, and they got beat. Your own man, Steve Tasker, said that from Buffalo land and said, man, the Jets They matched up one-on-one with the Bills. And guess what? They one-on-one matched again. All the people that are predicting a Bills blowout, not the case, people. And with all the injuries, maybe you should have, but you didn't. It was a one-score game. So this Josh Allen owns you. Does he? Josh Allen owns the Jets. By the way, how did old Joshy do on the stat sheet? If you want to go record, again, the record, as we already said, is 1-1 on the season. And they sacked him, 5 times in the first matchup? And then in this matchup, what were the old numbers for old Josh Allen? Let me make sure I have it in front of me. Josh Allen had 147 yards passing. Where's this ownership? He averaged 5 yards a clip. Through like much of the first half, he had 20 yards passing. So this Josh Allen owns you business. I don't think we need to go there. All the respect in the world to the gosh darn Buffalo Bills. They won the game. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC. I wish you guys all the best of luck moving forward, and I will repeat the sentiments of one Robert Saleh. We'll see you down the road. Maybe it's a playoff game. Maybe it's 2-7 if you guys don't get the 1 seed. Maybe it's deeper in the playoffs. I think we're going to see again, and I'm looking forward to that matchup. I think the Jets match up very well against the Buffalo Bills, as good as you can against a Bills team that's absolutely loaded. So the Josh Allen owns you. Cry me a river, pal. Owns crap. He didn't perform statistically yesterday, and they're 1-1 on the year, which, again, Bills fans said they were going to sweep the Jets before the year. So how did that happen? How'd that work out? Anywho, I digress. Okay. JW, Bam returned 2 kickoffs in college for touchdowns. 100%. I'm not denying the calls for I'm not denying the knowledge of Bam. Yes, part of his resume was as a returner, but again, he's too important to the offense, in my opinion, that you can't use him on return game as well. That's why he paid Braxton Burris $12 million. Rob Miller, greetings from Las Vegas. Rob, welcome to the show. Appreciate it. I went to Vegas for the first time over the last couple of months. It was I can't remember when specifically now because my brain's fried. But my team, one of my other jobs, I'm the voice of the Syracuse Strong, which is a semi-professional football team here in Syracuse. They, went to the national championship game. They brought me along with them. So I got to see Vegas for the first time. The Strip is beautiful. It's weird to get like such hot weather that it was. And then we went to the literal Las Vegas Strip. And then there's this big like digital roof. I don't know how else to describe it. There's like this digital roof over the streets. It's like AC. So all of a sudden you're like, whoa, the temperature difference from hot ass Las Vegas to whoa in the Strip was pretty cool. So that was my first time going even that deep to the West Coast. It was amazing. Long flight, pretty cool. I was in and out too. I came in on the championship day. So whatever that was, I flew in on Saturday. The game happened. I flew out the next morning. So I was in and out, but it was beautiful. It was awesome for sure. John Hepburn, DJ Chark is who you're talking about. I love him. He's been injury prone in his career, but he's super talented. He's got a lot of speed on the outside. Wild Wave. That was the Green Bay game that they called the pick six back on Sauce. I remember that one at the beginning of the game where the ball tipped up. That's not what I'm talking about. I was talking about a fumble ball that came out and Sauce grabbed it. It looked like he was going to the house. That may have been the Bills game, but I can't remember. Jets fan. Dwayne Brown apologized to Mike White. It won't happen no more. Yeah, I loved what I saw from that perspective. So that was pretty cool to see the offensive line say that. Like they said, man, he's so tough, but like, let's not let him be tough. Let's just, kind of protect him better from that perspective. Oof, Tom Smith, Buffalo Bills will get beat in the first round of the playoffs. I would be surprised by that. Right now, they have no first round to play because they have the bye. I'd probably be surprised because, again, they're going to play unless it's the Jets somehow and it was a 2-7, because the matchups are this. There's 1 through 7 seed. 1 seed gets a bye. So you have 2-7, 3-6, 4-5. Worst case, they're like the 2 seed probably. So although they play the Bengals, so maybe that can flip. But they play like a Jets, Chargers, Dolphins maybe. I don't know. I think the offensive questions are legit around this team. Let's see. The offense has really disappeared, but I'd be interested in that. Let's see. Strev, yes, again, I'm all for a potential practice squad kind of thing there for sure. Strev, I'm saying a lot of that. Let's go to YouTube Super Chat, which, by the way, really appreciate that. Thank you so much for your support for the show. Mr. Downtown Draft Aaron Korsak, Ray Guy winner from Rutgers. I would love that. Yeah, sure. Again, hey, I'm all for giving another draft pick potentially for that, or digging into some of the Syracuse guys, as I said before. That would be great. I would love to see that. So yes, I'll have to do some work on Aaron Korsak. I have not done a lot of draft work this year, which is great, by the way. I'm normally a big draft guy, but I hadn't looked at Tankathon or anything in months. I watch college football, but I'm going to be honest, I have not been all over that. So that's great. Phenom, too early for a prediction. Reality Monday is still in effect. We need a spark. It's still time. It's time for the Jets to make their own luck. 100%. A couple years ago, of course, the Jets got luck in the AFC Championship run. The first one where they had this team to lose, this team to win, this team to lose. Handle your own business, and then you won't have to worry about any of that other crap. So, I think that's an important twist for all of us. Keep it simple, RC. Can Mike White be our franchise quarterback? What's your crystal ball say? Oh, keep it simple, RC. Is he our franchise quarterback? He's shown toughness. He's shown grit. He shows he could deliver the ball on a somewhat consistent basis. Vikings game early aside. And I'm trying to think of the other one. Like the Bills game weather, Josh Allen was also bad. Can he be our franchise? Can he be? Sure. It's possible. Anything's possible. Zach Wilson's going to be back next year. And Mike White, if he brings them to the playoffs, as I expect this Jets team to be 10-7. I predicted 9-8 back in May, but I think they can win 3 of these 4. And if they do win 3 of these 4, they're in the playoffs, and Mike White has an opportunity. At the very least, he ends the drought that's 11 years running, and that alone would be awesome. Of course, we'd want to go on a run because the last 2 times the Jets went to the playoffs, they went on magical runs, which was a lot of fun. My crystal ball says that Mike White re-signs with the team on a 2 or 3 year deal that pays him in between like 12 and 16 million a year per year. So it's like a 2-year deal for 30 mil, something like that, or a 3-year deal for like 36 or something. Like something like that is what I expect. We will see if that happens. But good question. Sun Moon Rise 31. Do you think Zach is already done regarding the starting quarterback decision? I do. Sun Moon Rise. I love Zach Wilson a lot. I love the talent. I don't think he's done. I don't think his Jets career is over. But in terms of starting quarterback, I do think it's over. The only way it's not is if Mike White's rib gets him this week and he starts at home against the Detroit Lions. And let's say Zach Wilson goes off and he looks fantastic. All of a sudden, I don't know if you go back to Mike White, which would be crazy. With everything that he's shown, because on a short week, would you go back to Mike White? Probably not. If Zach Wilson looks great and you win, you probably play him against Jacksonville. Then all of a sudden, now what do? You had that mini bye, which you would have heading into the Seattle game, but I don't know. That's a good question. But I think as a starter, he's done outside of injury this year. And he should be QB2 this week. He should be good this week. Let's see. Momo Adamo here. Never saw a horror hit taken by a quarterback in my whole life. That Mad Mike yesterday. Yeah, he got lit up like a Christmas tree. There's no question about it. He got beat up pretty bad. We have Dave here. David, Lions are the real deal. Going to be a dogfight. I anticipated Dan Campbell biting kneecaps and all that crazy crap for sure. I'm expecting a good game. I love the Lions. I saw them on Hard Knocks. I got a lot of lovable players on that team, but we'll see how they match up. Again, I think just the Jets are a more talented football team. Now, the more talented football team doesn't always win, so we will see. Christian Mejia, don't knock on glass because that's how our players are acting. Oh, ayo, zinger. Ouch. Yeah, that's good. Touche. Wow, that is funny. Let's see. Let's do some voodoo. Momo Adamo, is Tardif a doctor or a blocker? I'm tired of hearing he's coming back and no one sees him. Well, again, he doesn't play right tackle. He plays guard. So Nate Herbig's been fine, and Laken Tomlinson's getting a lot of money. So where is the doctor going to play? Again, unless he just learns how to play right tackle, which, again, this isn't Madden, so he's not just kind of going to get thrown out there willy-nilly. So that's the only thing I would push back on that. From that perspective, is he doesn't play right tackle. If he did, you'd feel a little bit better if George Fant was out for any significant period of time. Let's go to JW. Any given Sunday, baby. I am so ready for the Lions game. I'm so excited. It's going to be great. Let's see. Gohan angered. Bills fans are starting to get to that level of Pitt and Eagles fans. The Bills haven't won as much as them. Yeah, the Bills haven't won anything yet. Like, they haven't won a Super Bowl. Like, it'd be one thing if the Bills did this Chiefs run, won a Super Bowl, and they're talking all kinds of crap like, okay, you won the Super Bowl. But I think they're getting to that Patriots level if I want to go to that point. Because if I'm going to that Patriots level, it's that arrogance of like, yeah, we're the best. We're sweeping everybody. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold the phone. Oh, boy. Like, what have you done? I don't know. YouTube super chat, Vision Stealth. Love that name. Also, Wicked Badass Avatar. Love that as well. Thank you so much for supporting the show. What do you think of the Lions on Sunday? Candidly, I think they're a fun team. They're a team that's won 5 of 6. They're a fun team that scores a lot of points. They're a Madden team. Here's who they've beaten in those 5 of 6 games. They beat the Packers. They beat the Bears. They beat the Giants. They should have beat the Bills. I mean, on Thanksgiving, let's be honest. Some Dan Campbell, horrible clock management at the end of that thing. And to play for the tie, which gave the Bills plenty of time to come back and win that game. I mean, that was just dumb. So quite frankly, they should have won 6 in a row. They destroyed the Jaguars, who are an up-and-down team. They beat the Vikings. Obviously, a really good win. The Jets couldn't beat the Vikings. So they're a fun team. They score a lot of points. Their defense isn't very good, but sometimes they have moments. Jameson Williams is back as I'm kind of looking around this team. Jared Goff has put up some video game numbers this year. He's got 22 touchdowns to 7 picks. Who among us wouldn't want a 3-to-1 touchdown reception ratio from our quarterback? But he started off hot, had a rough moment in the middle of the year, and has bounced back in this winning streak. He's been great. Jamal Williams is a freak. I mean, he has 14 rushing touchdowns this year. I mean, sweet Caroline, 800 yards rushing. DeAndre Swift, who was supposed to be the guy, has been completely underwhelming this year with injuries, with only 375. But Jamal Williams is a touchdown machine. And also, if you throw in some of the other stuff here from Jamal Williams as well, and I was trying to get the other one. I couldn't see the other in terms of receiving. It doesn't seem like he had another touchdown there. So 14 rushing touchdowns. Amazing. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a great find. He has 82 catches on the year, nearly 900 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns. He's a player. They had TJ Hockenson. He's no longer there. And then kind of a bunch of other guys, Josh Reynolds, Khalif Raymond, the former Jet, DJ Chark. They kind of got a couple of guys there. So they've got some exciting guys in offense, but the defense, again, I know they have Rodrigo from Hard Knocks, who's fun. Alex Anzalone, Jeff Okuda's a really talented player. Amani Oruwariye out of Penn State is good as well. So you got some guys, but I'm going to be honest, the defense is trash. They have not done very well overall. And even in the last batch of games that Lions people were telling me yesterday on the live stream is that they've been giving up a lot of points too. So, yeah, what do I think? They're a fun team. They're a sexy team, and they're a hard-nosed grit team. Grit, 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 grit. That was Dan Campbell's big message during Hard Knocks. So it's not a pushover. It's not like the Jets are going to destroy this team by 40, I don't think. I anticipate that the Jets winning by 2 scores, and we will see. I would not be surprised, though. If it was even a little bit closer than that. This Detroit team is feisty, and they've been saying it this week, we believe we can make the playoffs. Again, their playoff percentage chances, I think, according to the ESPN analytics, is 10%. So not great, but they believe that they can make a run here. Let's see. Alex S. Bills fan here. Nothing but respect to the Jets. Tough, rugged, gritty team. Alex, I appreciate the respect to back and forth. To be honest, I wish more Bills fans were in that thing. I don't root for the Bills. Obviously, I'm a Jets guy, but you guys haven't won diddly crap in forever, and it would be great. Your fans are awesome. They're crazy bastards jumping through tables and all kinds of crazy crap. So, all the best to you for sure. There's no doubt about it. So, all the props, and we'll be wishing you the best outside of when you're playing the Jets, of course. But I am rooting for you next week. Beat the Dolphins for us, please, as we're playing for a wild card now. That would be great. More Bills fans in here. I love it. I'm a Bills fan, just grateful for the W. The Jets are legitimately good, especially on defense. Great weapons on offense, and maybe just a quarterback away. Eric, how long have we been away from that, my friend? But it could be. That could be exactly where they're at from that standpoint. So, the Bills are really good. Again, I will be honest. Prior to this game, I said, man, without Von Miller, I don't know if the Bills can win a Super Bowl because Josh Allen is somewhat compromised in some level. He's not the best Josh Allen because of health. So, but without Von Miller, you need to overcompensate and be electric on offense, which the Bills haven't been. But maybe they can turn it around, and I hope they can for Bills fans' sakes. Again, if they're playing the Jets, of course, I'm rooting my Jets. But, if the Bills are on their own path, they don't play the Jets. Hey, Godspeed. Go win it for the AFC East. I love it. Let's keep going here. Keep it simple, RC. Can we cut bait on Thomas and give AVT a spot back? That's not happening. He's in the first year of his long deal. There's no out coming up anytime soon. But no, and Lakin's been up and down. But no, I think Elijah Tucker's going back to right guard. That's my guess. Nate Herbig is a free agent, but maybe he stays at one of those tackle spots depending on what happens. There's a lot of volatility at offensive tackle. Gohan Angered, my money is on the Bengals for winning the AFC. Again, they're coming on the right stretch. There's no doubt about it. They're coming on the right stretch. They're making a lot of things happen. So the Bengals are red hot right now. They are red hot. So they are really making things happen from that perspective. So the money is on the Bengals for winning the AFC. I am not surprised by that. They have actually been doing really well. I'm looking forward to that Bills-Bengals game in a couple of weeks for sure. Gohan Angered again. Still, I would like to see what Strevler would do in the regular season. Wouldn't know till you threw him out there. That's for sure. You don't know, but there's probably a reason why no one has picked him back up yet. Lionel Cook, is Clemens playing versus Lions? He's a beast. Yeah, he had the flu-like symptoms, although he was coming into the stadium, looked pretty good, and so much so that I thought maybe he was going to play. But without the week of practice, it makes a lot of sense that they did not. So I hope he is back. He'll be part of that 10-man defensive line rotation for certain. Joe Flacco needs to be inactive. I agree there. Let's see. I got a few more YouTube super chats I got to catch up on. I'm seeing this from Armando coming in. Armando, thank you so much for the YouTube super chat and all you guys that try to get to all your comments, of course, but of course, always the YouTube super chats that help support the show. Hi, Paul and chat. Can we run the effing ball against the Lions instead of LaFleur trying to get cute? And can we get more involved? Well, I will say from the Moore perspective, 10 targets. You love to see that against the Buffalo Bills. Garrett Wilson only 7. I'd like to see both of them in the 10-plus target range from that perspective. So we did see more, but you can't see enough more. I want to see more. That would be phenomenal. So more is great, is good for business. In terms of running the football, yes, I'm all about it. To me, I think one of the problems and criticisms with the Mike LaFleur system is too much horizontal game, too much east and west. They need to be north and south. They got to be moving straight. That's the plays. When Donovan Knight is running angry and he's running vertical and he's getting up in your business, that's when everybody is in a great position. So that's what you want to see, more north and south, Armando. Plain and simple. So, yes, can we run the bleeping ball? I certainly hope so. And I hope Michael Carter figures out his crap. I think James Robinson could be back to try to mix things up in the backfield because, Zonovan needs some sort of a complement to kind of even stuff out there. But I would like to see more runs north and south and some more play action shots because Mike White did very well with the play action analytics from that standpoint. So Armando, thank you so much for supporting the show, baby. I really appreciate it. Let's keep going. JETS Jets King Lasky, appreciate that. Yes, I love it, baby. Let's get all the good energies going. Let me make sure I didn't miss any more of your comments. Yeah, of course, the Monday Night Football. Let's bring up Momo Adamo. Pats must lose tonight. I'll be honest, in our radio show picks, we pick all our NFL games against the spread. I had the Cardinals winning, but I don't feel very confident. They're at home, but Cliff Kingsbury is a doofus, and Bill Belichick's a really good coach. So I hope it would be phenomenal. Right now, the Jets have already been leapfrogged for that final wild card spot by the LA Chargers by virtue of their win. If the Patriots win, the Jets will be kicked all the way down to the number 9 seed. So everyone are big Cardinals fans tonight. Big Cardinals fans. Again, I picked them, but I do not feel confident at all whatsoever. BYU fan, when will Zach Wilson get an opportunity? Again, he got it earlier this year. I don't believe he's coming back as a starter this season. And I love Zach Wilson, but outside of injury, I don't think he's coming back. But he should be QB2 moving forward. That's what I would say for sure. Thomas McKee. Bryce Huff is my favorite player. I love Bryce Huff. He is a freak. Bryce Huff is phenomenal, and he's another guy that should get paid a lot of money for sure. Let's see. Let me see if I'm missing anything here as I'm trying to catch up on the scrolling. We need a better feature for a lot of these. So excellent. All right. I think I caught up on everyone's comments. Just want to make sure that I did before we sign off. I will say again, everybody, that we're going to have a New York Jets starter. We're scheduled to have a New York Jets starter on the show tomorrow. So guys, make sure, like I said, you like the video, hit subscribe, and also hit that bell notification so you never miss a video. That should be coming out in the early afternoon window tomorrow. And again, you guys can feel free to guess on who you believe that player will be. But as long as everything lines up, again, we're supposed to have him on last week, but he was part of the large group of players that had part of the flu outbreak with the Jets. So he was unable to go. So we had the scoop, but we didn't even know that we had the scoop. Go figure from that perspective. So he is projected to join us. I was speaking to his representation earlier today to confirm the interview for tomorrow. So that's going to be a good one. I've never had him on my show before, and I'm really looking forward to it because I think we have a lot of interesting topics to get into. Well, guys, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on a live stream on a Monday. We're here every Monday with Will Parkinson. Tomorrow on the show, like I said, we're going to have a New York Jets starter on the program, so I hope you guys can hop in, appreciate, and show your support for that. On Wednesday, we'll have a Detroit Lions insider. All you parent Lions crazy fans, we're going to preview this matchup, get into the nitty-gritty behind enemy lines to learn more about this Detroit Lions team and find out how feisty this team actually is and how they match up with the New York Jets. Again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Again, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe. We're close, very close to 3,000 subscribers. I'd love to join the 3K club. So make sure you tell a friend, show the love, spread the love, baby. And we'll be back on tomorrow on the channel and enjoy it. We'll see you guys.